Hello and welcome to The Sleepy Why, the podcast that answers those bizarre questions keeping you up at night when your brain decides 3 a.m. is the perfect time to contemplate life's strangest mysteries. Have you ever felt an overwhelming longing for a place you've never actually been? Maybe you're inexplicably homesick for a misty Scottish Highland, even though you've never left Nebraska. Or perhaps you feel a deep, ancestral pull toward a sun-drenched Mediterranean coastline, despite being a lifelong resident of suburban Detroit. Tonight, we're diving into the fascinating phenomenon of feeling homesick for places that exist only in our minds, or maybe, just maybe, in our DNA. Your brain is playing an elaborate game of emotional time travel, constructing vivid memories of places you've never visited and making you yearn for homes that only exist in your imagination. It's like having déjà vu for a place instead of a moment, and it turns out this peculiar feeling might be wired into our neural circuitry for some surprisingly powerful reasons. Before we unravel this mystery, I'd love to know where you're listening from. And, more importantly, which place you've never visited feels inexplicably like home to you. Drop a comment about your phantom homeland, that spot on the map that calls to you, even though you've never set foot there. If you're enjoying these nighttime journeys into life's most intriguing questions, why not join our growing community of curious insomniacs? Hit subscribe, and let's explore the weird and wonderful workings of our minds together. Let's begin by stepping into the curious world of false memories and ancestral longings, where your brain might be carrying echoes of places your ancestors once called home. Imagine your neurons as tiny storytellers, weaving tales of distant lands from threads of genetic memory, cultural imprints, and your own psychological needs. Tonight, we'll discover why some places feel like home before we've ever seen them, and how this mysterious longing might be one of the most fascinating quirks of human consciousness. Part 1. Your brain's greatest magic trick. You're scrolling through photos of an abandoned mall from the 1980s, all peeling pastels and dead palm trees, when it hits you. That gut punch feeling of remembering a place you've never actually been. The neon-trimmed fountains, the specific smell of orange Julius mixing with new leather at Kinney Shoes, the echo of footsteps on terrazzo floors. Except you weren't even alive in 1983. Welcome to your brain's most sophisticated con game, manufacturing memories of places that never existed in your personal timeline. It's like your neural pathways are running an elaborate Ocean's 11 scheme, but instead of stealing diamonds, they're crafting entire worlds from snippets of movies, forgotten Instagram posts, and that one time you fell down a Wikipedia rabbit hole at 3 a.m. Recent neuroscience has revealed something wild. Your brain doesn't actually care whether a memory is real or not. When researchers at Stanford used fMRI scanning to watch brains process authentic memories versus completely fabricated ones, the same regions lit up like Times Square on New Year's Eve. Your hippocampus, the supposed fact-checker of your memory bank, treats that fake memory of running through your grandmother's 1970s shag-carpeted basement with the same reverence as your actual memories from breakfast this morning. But here's where it gets truly bizarre. Your brain isn't just passively accepting these false memories. It's actively manufacturing them with the enthusiasm of a startup promising to disrupt the water bottle industry. Take the viral phenomenon of liminal spaces that exploded across TikTok. Those oddly familiar yet completely foreign places. Empty hotel corridors, abandoned shopping malls, eerily quiet school hallways at dusk, trigger such intense emotional responses that people report physical reactions, goosebumps, racing hearts, even tears. The science behind this emotional hijacking is like catching your roommate's cat orchestrating an elaborate heist. Your amygdala, the emotional core of your brain, doesn't wait for your conscious mind to verify if a memory is real before sending out the feelings. Cavalry. It spots patterns, a certain quality of light, a specific arrangement of space, a particular combination of textures, and immediately fires off emotional responses based on similar patterns it's encountered before. This pattern matching gone rogue explains why you might feel an inexplicable wave of nostalgia for a 1950s diner you've only seen in movies, or why that random back room at your office sometimes feels like a setting from a dream you can't quite remember. Your brain is basically running a sophisticated version of those AI art generators. But instead of creating images from text prompts, it's generating entire emotional landscapes from fragments of collective cultural memory. The latest research from the University of California suggests these false memories serve a crucial evolutionary purpose. Like a social media algorithm that shows you ads for things you didn't know you wanted, your brain creates these phantom memories to help you navigate potential future scenarios. That weird familiarity you feel in places you've never been? It's your brain's way of running simulation scenarios, like a neural version of The Sims. This memory fabrication system goes beyond just spaces. Ever noticed how you can remember the layout of fictional places with crystal clarity? The halls of Hogwarts, the streets of Grand Theft Auto's Los Santos, or the floor plan of the friend's apartment feel as real in your mind as your own home. That's because your brain's spatial mapping system doesn't discriminate between real and imagined environments. It's like your neural GPS has gone rogue, happily adding fictional locations to its database with the same authority as your actual childhood home. Neuroscientists at MIT discovered that these manufactured memories create actual physical changes in your brain structure. Every time you recall that non-existent mall from your not-really childhood, you're strengthening neural pathways just as if you were remembering your first kiss. Your brain is essentially running a continuous world-building workshop, constructing elaborate sets for a play you never actually attended. The implications of this discovery are staggering. Those intense feelings of déjà vu? They might not be glitches in the Matrix after all, but rather your brain's world-building engine working overtime, creating connections between places you've been, places you've seen, and places that exist only in the collective imagination of countless Netflix shows and viral videos. Your brain isn't just a passive recorder of experiences. It's more like a reality TV producer, constantly editing and rearranging footage to create the most compelling narrative possible. And just like reality TV, the line between what's real and what's manufactured becomes increasingly blurry with each retelling. So the next time you feel that sudden rush of nostalgia for a place you've never actually been, remember, you're not experiencing a glitch in your memory system. You're witnessing your brain's most sophisticated magic trick, the ability to construct entire worlds from the building blocks of collective human experience. It's not just remembering the past, it's actively creating it, one fictional memory at a time. Part 2. The Ancestral GPS. When your DNA feels like home ever felt an inexplicable pull toward a place you've never visited. Like that TikToker who couldn't explain her obsession with Scotland until her ancestry test revealed 86% Scottish heritage. Your DNA might be playing matchmaker with landscapes, and it's not just about pretty views. It's about survival hardwired into your genes. Imagine your DNA as the world's oldest travel influencer, complete with millions of years of verified reviews. But instead of recommending trendy cafes, it's whispering about which environments kept your ancestors alive long enough to pass on their genes. That mountain range that makes your heart skip. It might be because your ancestors mastered high-altitude living for generations, passing down genetic adaptations like a family heirloom. Recent studies in epigenetics, the science of how genes switch on and off based on experience, suggest our ancestors' environments left molecular breadcrumbs in our DNA. It's like they tagged their favorite survival spots, and we're still getting notifications centuries later. When researchers studied descendants of Dutch famine survivors, they found genetic markers specifically related to food scarcity, proof that environmental experiences can echo through generations. This genetic nostalgia isn't just about landscapes. Remember that viral trend where people suddenly craved specific cultural foods they'd never tried? Scientists discovered certain taste receptors are inherited, along with the ability to digest specific proteins. Your random urge for fermented fish might actually be your Viking ancestors' metabolism giving you a 5-star review. But here's where reality hits different than those ancestral DNA reveal videos. Genetic memory isn't like downloading your great-great-grandmother's Instagram highlights. It's more like inheriting a really sophisticated survival app that's been beta tested for millennia. Your body responds to environmental cues, temperature, altitude, humidity, even the mineral content of local water, based on what worked for countless generations before you. Take the phenomenon of altitude adaptation. Native Tibetans carry genes that make them Olympic-level performers at high altitudes, while the rest of us wheeze upstairs in Denver. These aren't just random mutations. They're success stories written in DNA, passed down because they kept people alive in specific environments. The plot thickens when we look at modern research on place attachment. Scientists found that certain landscape features trigger universal emotional responses. Rolling hills with scattered trees, views of water, and natural shelters make most humans feel safe and content. It's like we're all running the same ancient operating system that marks certain environments as home base. This explains why that cottagecore aesthetic blew up during lockdown. Those cozy gardens and woodland scenes weren't just pretty. They were triggering deep-seated genetic memories of environments where humans thrived. Your sudden urge to abandon corporate life and become a cottage witch, that's your DNA, remembering a time before spreadsheets and fluorescent lighting. Social media is flooded with people claiming spiritual connections to far-off lands, but genetics suggests they might be onto something. When researchers studied immigrants returning to their ancestral homelands, they found physiological changes: blood pressure normalizing, stress hormones decreasing, even sleep patterns adjusting faster than typical jet lag recovery. Modern cities create a fascinating twist in this genetic story. Our brains are pattern-matching machines, constantly searching for features that match our inherited safe space templates. And that's why certain architectural designs feel instantly welcoming, while others set off subtle alarm bells. Your inexplicable hatred of brutalist architecture might actually be your DNA screaming, "This doesn't look like survival." The science of genetic memory challenges our understanding of home and belonging. Those random dreams about places you've never been, the way certain landscapes stop you in your tracks. That's not just wanderlust. It's your ancestral GPS trying to guide you back to environments where your genetic code knows how to thrive. This doesn't mean we should all relocate based on ancestry test results. Our modern brains are remarkably adaptable, capable of creating home anywhere. But understanding these inherited preferences helps explain why some places feel like home the moment we arrive, while others never quite click despite years of trying to settle in. Next time you feel an inexplicable pull toward a particular landscape or culture, remember, you're not just following social media trends or random curiosity. You're participating in the longest-running human survival guide ever created, written in the language of DNA and passed down through countless generations of your ancestors who lived, loved, and thrived in places that shaped the very essence of who you are today. Part 3. Architecture as Emotional Hacking. You're standing in a stranger's living room, but your brain is screaming, "I've been here before." Not just any déjà vu. This feels like walking into your grandmother's house, except you've never set foot in this building. That curved archway, the window seat drowning in sunlight, even the way shadows play across hardwood floors. It's triggering an emotional avalanche that makes zero logical sense. Welcome to architectural déjà vu, where buildings hack your brain's emotional circuitry like a master locksmith. Your mind isn't malfunctioning. It's performing an evolutionary magic trick that kept our ancestors alive and now makes us feel weirdly at home in places we've never visited. Remember that viral TikTok trend where people found their comfort rooms in random houses? There's hardcore neuroscience behind why millions of viewers got goosebumps watching strangers walk into ordinary spaces. Our brains have a secret architectural playlist, a greatest hits collection of spatial features that trigger instant emotional responses. Take that arched doorway you just can't stop staring at. Your brain processes its curve the same way it handles a warm hug or a gentle smile. The amygdala, your emotional bouncer, doesn't distinguish between social and architectural curves. That's why walking through a rounded archway feels like getting a dopamine high five from your house. But here's where your brain goes full method actor. Those high ceilings? They're activating the same neural networks that light up when you're feeling socially safe and expansive. It's like your brain's running a background app that constantly scans for home signals, using the same processing power it uses to read facial expressions. Natural light isn't just about vitamin D. It's your brain's architectural antidepressant. When sunlight hits those oddly familiar wooden floors, your visual cortex starts playing matchmaker with your memory centers. Suddenly, you're emotionally speed, dating with every cozy space you've ever loved, even if they only existed in movies or dreams. The science gets wilder. Your hippocampus, the brain's GPS and memory maestro, creates place cells that fire specifically for certain spatial layouts. These cells don't care if you've actually been somewhere before. They're like your brain's interior design influencers, creating instant emotional connections to spaces that match their preferred aesthetic. Those built-in bookshelves that made your heart skip? They're triggering what neuroscientists call environmental autobiography. Your brain's highlight reel of It's like your neurons are running a matchmaking service between architecture and emotion, and they're not above playing dirty with your memories. Your brain isn't just responding to individual features, it's choreographing an emotional flash mob based on spatial patterns. That breakfast nook that feels inexplicably perfect, it's hitting the sweet spot between prospect, being able to see your surroundings, and refuge, feeling protected that our cave-dwelling ancestors needed to survive. The really mind-bending part? Your DNA might be in on this architectural conspiracy. Recent studies suggest we inherit spatial preferences from our ancestors. Those random comfort triggers aren't so random. They're encrypted in your genetic code like architectural love letters from your great-great-grandparents. Think your social media feed is good at pattern recognition. Your brain's spatial processing centers make Instagram's algorithm look like a flip phone calculator. They're constantly running background checks on every space you enter, cross-referencing them with emotional databases you didn't even know you had. It gets personal. That inexplicable urge to curl up in a stranger's window seat isn't just about the cushions. Your brain's matching it with every safe, cozy nook you experienced since. It's like your neurons are running an emotional Airbnb, instantly booking feelings of home in foreign spaces. The kicker? This architectural emotional hacking works even when you know it's happening. Understanding the science doesn't make that perfectly proportioned room feel any less like a long-lost friend. Your brain's spatial processing is like gravity. Knowing how it works doesn't stop it from pulling. So next time you walk into a space that feels impossibly familiar, remember, your brain isn't glitching. It's flexing its evolutionary muscles. Those mysterious feelings of home in strange places? They're your neural networks showing off millions of years of architectural pattern matching wrapped in a bow of emotional intelligence that would make any AI jealous. Part 4. The Netflix Effect. Your brain is running the most sophisticated virtual reality simulation in existence right now, and it's being hacked by every show you binge watch. That ache you feel for stars, Hollow's gazebo, that longing to grab coffee at Central Perk, or that bizarre homesickness for a Santorini sunset you've only seen on Instagram. It's not just wishful thinking. It's your neural architecture being rewired by pixels and storytelling. Remember that feeling when you finished watching The Office for the first time? That emptiness, like you'd just moved away from your favorite workplace. Your hippocampus, the brain's master architect of memory and place, can't actually tell the difference between spending 100 hours watching Dunder Mifflin and spending 100 hours at a real office. It's building neural maps of these spaces with the same serious dedication it uses for your actual bedroom. Your brain's place, making system is like an overeager interior designer who never learned the difference between Pinterest and reality. Every time you immerse yourself in a fictional world, it's hanging up neural curtains, arranging synaptic furniture, and essentially redecorating your memory palace with rooms that don't exist. And just like that one TikTok cleaning hack that permanently stained your countertops, these false memories stick. The science gets even wilder when we look at what's happening in your temporal lobe. It's treating every binge-watch location like a pop-up shop in your memory mall. The more time you spend there, the more permanent the installation becomes. That's why you can probably navigate the Hogwarts castle better than your local grocery store. Your spatial memory doesn't care about the difference between CGI and concrete. But here's where your brain's reality. Bending gets truly bizarre. It's not just storing these places. It's mixing them with your emotional experiences like some neurological DJ. That cozy feeling you get watching Gilmore Girls gets chemically tagged onto those mental images of Luke's diner. Your brain is essentially creating emotional location markers for places that exist only in studio sets and green screens. The phenomenon goes deeper than just TV shows. Social media has turned this quirk of neural architecture into a full-blown epidemic of false nostalgia. Every time you scroll past that perfectly lit cafe in Paris or that impossibly peaceful Balinese villa, your brain's place attachment systems fire up like they're house hunting. It's building emotional mortgage payments on real estate that only exists in filters and carefully cropped frames. This explains why you can feel homesick for places you've never actually been. Your amygdala, the emotional core of your brain, is processing these curated images and staged scenes with the same sincerity it processes real memories. It's like your brain never got the memo about Photoshop and professional lighting. The most fascinating part? These false place attachments can trigger real physiological responses. Your cortisol levels actually drop when you see images of that fictional cozy bookshop you've been pining for. Your brain releases the same comfort cocktail of neurotransmitters it would if you were curling up in your favorite childhood reading nook. Modern media has essentially created a new form of emotional real estate, virtual spaces that occupy genuine neural territory. Every time Netflix autoplays the next episode, you're not just watching content. You're letting your brain's architecture department add another wing to its imaginary mansion. This neural sleight of hand has profound implications for how we process reality. Your brain's place-making hardware evolved over millions of years to help you remember where to find food and avoid dangers. Now it's being commandeered by content algorithms to create emotional attachments to pixels and polygons. The effect is so powerful that architects and set designers are now reverse engineering these principles. They're creating real spaces that trigger the same neural responses as our favorite fictional places. That new coffee shop downtown? Its designer probably studied the lighting in Central Perk. That boutique hotel's lobby? Influenced by the grand staircases of Hogwarts. This isn't just about entertainment. It's about how our brains construct reality itself. Every time you feel that pang of longing for a place you've never been, you're experiencing the bleeding edge of human consciousness, where memory, emotion, and imagination collide in a neural light show that would make any Your brain isn't just playing pretend. It's creating legitimate emotional real estate in your neural architecture. These fictional places become way stations in your mental landscape, as real to your nervous system as any physical location you visited. And in a world where we spend more time in digital spaces than physical ones, these virtual territories are becoming increasingly valuable emotional property. The next time you feel homesick for a place that exists only in pixels, remember, your brain is running the most sophisticated simulation software ever created, and sometimes it can't tell the difference between a masterfully crafted set and your actual hometown. In the neural real estate market, emotional truth trumps physical reality every time. Part 5. Time travel through rows. Colored neurons. Your brain is staging the most elaborate historical reenactment ever, and you didn't even buy tickets. That deep longing you feel for the neon-lit 1950s diners you've never visited, or the cobblestone streets of Victorian London you've only seen in movies? It's not just daydreaming. It's your neural networks performing their own version of time travel, complete with special effects that would make Hollywood jealous. We're all guilty of romanticizing eras we never lived through. It's like your brain is running a bootleg version of The Sims Historical Edition, building perfect little worlds from borrowed memories and filtered Instagram aesthetics. That cozy feeling you get imagining yourself in a 1920s jazz club or a medieval castle, that's your temporal lobe playing dress-up with your neurons. The science behind this phenomenon is wilder than any TikTok cottagecore fantasy. When you scroll through those dreamy photos of vintage train stations or sun-drenched Mediterranean villages, your hippocampus, the brain's master architect of memory, starts constructing elaborate false memories. It's like your neural networks are running a sophisticated Adobe Photoshop, merging snippets of movies, books, and family stories into a perfectly curated highlight reel of a past that never existed. This isn't just some quirky brain glitch. It's a phenomenon neuroscientists call anemoia, nostalgia. For a time you've never known, your brain treats these imagined historical periods like exclusive clubs it desperately wants to join, creating VIP passes out of fragments of cultural memory and inherited stories. Take that inexplicable yearning for 1950s American diners. Your mind isn't actually craving authentic 1950s food. Trust me, Jell-O, with suspended hot dogs wasn't the culinary masterpiece we pretend it was. Instead, your brain is constructing a greatest hits album of cherry-picked moments, chrome-plated jukeboxes, perfectly swirled milkshakes, and leather booths unmarred by decades of use. It's like your neural networks are running a historical fantasy football league, drafting only the most aesthetically pleasing players from the past. The plot thickens when we look at how social media has turned this phenomenon into a full-blown cultural movement. Dark academia aesthetics don't just romanticize studying in Gothic libraries. They're activating ancient circuits in your brain that associate knowledge with sacred spaces. Your neurons are essentially creating a Netflix period drama in your head, minus the production budget and historical consultants. What's actually happening in your brain during these time-traveling fantasies would blow Doc Brown's mind. Your anterior insular cortex, the brain region responsible for emotional time travel, starts firing like it's hosting its own historical rave. It's collaborating with your default mode network, the neural system that kicks in when you're daydreaming, to create a perfectly curated version of history that never existed. This explains why you might feel an overwhelming sense of belonging when you step into a recreated Victorian parlor or scroll through photos of Art Deco architecture. Your brain isn't just appreciating the aesthetics, it's trying to claim citizenship in a time period it constructed from cultural DNA and borrowed memories. The most fascinating part: these false nostalgic memories can feel more real than actual memories. Your brain processes them through the same neural pathways it uses for genuine recollections, like a master forger creating documents so perfect, even the owner can't tell they're fake. It's as if your mind is running a historical version of The Matrix, creating a simulation so convincing that part of you believes you really did experience that perfect autumn day in 1890s Paris. Modern technology has turned this ancient human tendency into something entirely new. Social media aesthetic movements aren't just trends, they're a collaborative world, building exercises where millions of brains are contributing to shared historical fantasies. It's like Wikipedia met Pinterest and decided to rewrite history with better lighting and more comfortable furniture. These imagined historical spaces serve a deeper purpose. They're your brain's way of creating emotional anchors in an increasingly chaotic world. When you feel that pull toward a romanticized past, your neural networks are essentially trying to build a psychological panic room decorated with carefully curated historical artifacts. Understanding this doesn't make the feeling any less real. That ache you feel for gaslit streets you've never walked or grand ballrooms you've never danced in isn't just valid. It's a testament to your brain's remarkable ability to construct meaning from cultural memory. You're not just dreaming of the past, you're participating in humanity's oldest continuous art project, the collective reimagining of history through the lens of longing. Next time you catch yourself yearning for the perfectly imperfect vinyl crackle of a record player you never owned, or the warm glow of a Victorian reading lamp you've only seen in museums, remember, your brain isn't just reminiscing. It's creating art from the raw materials of time itself. Part 6. The Algorithm of Belonging. Your phone screen glows with another perfectly curated cottagecore post. Misty morning light streaming through lace curtains, fresh-baked sourdough on a weathered wooden table, and a ceramic mug trailing wisps of herbal tea steam. You've never lived in an English cottage. You've never foraged mushrooms in a dewy forest or dried herbs from your garden. Yet somehow, your heart aches for this life you've never lived. Welcome to the era of digital homesickness, where algorithms serve up slices of lives we've never experienced, but somehow it's like getting FOMO for a party that happened 200 years ago, and your brain is falling for it hard. The science behind this digital nostalgia hits deeper than you'd think. When you scroll through perfectly filtered photos of dark academia aesthetics, all leather-bound books and Gothic architecture, your brain activates the same regions that light up when processing real memories. The hippocampus, your brain's memory maestro, doesn't actually care whether you've lived that experience or just double-tapped it on Instagram. Think of it like your brain running a sophisticated augmented reality program. Every time you engage with these curated lifestyle posts, you're not just looking, you're mentally walking through those spaces, touching those surfaces, breathing that air. Your neural pathways are laying down tracks to a destination that exists only in pixels. This isn't just some weird quirk of modern life. Our brains evolved to create detailed mental maps of safe, nurturing environments. It's how our ancestors remembered where to find food and shelter. But social media has hacked this ancient system, creating what neuroscientists call phantom geographies, emotional attachments to places that exist only in our collective digital imagination. Here's where it gets wild. These digital spaces aren't just triggering fake memories. They're creating real emotional bonds. That cozy feeling you get from cabin life posts. Your brain is pumping out oxytocin, the same attachment hormone that helps you bond with family members. The algorithm has basically become a matchmaker, setting you up on thousands of first dates with lifestyles you'll never actually live. The most mind-bending part? These curated aesthetics are creating shared cultural memories for places and times none of us experienced. Millions of people feel nostalgic for the dark academia lifestyle of Oxford in the 1940s, despite being born decades later and never setting foot in England. It's like we're all remembering scenes from a movie none of us actually watched. Social media platforms have become architects of artificial nostalgia, building emotional homes in our minds through carefully calculated content delivery. Every time you engage with a certain aesthetic, the algorithm reinforces these neural pathways, making these phantom spaces feel more and more like home. This digital placemaking isn't random, it's precisely engineered to trigger specific emotional responses. The soft, warm lighting in cottagecore posts activates the same comfort responses as actual candlelight. The symmetry in minimalism feeds our brain's craving for order. Even the sound of crackling fireplaces in cabin lifestyle reels taps into primal comfort circuits wired into our DNA. But here's the cognitive plot twist. After enough exposure to certain aesthetics, your brain starts seeking out similar elements in your physical environment. It's like your neural networks are running a massive renovation project, redecorating your reality to match your digital dreams. This phenomenon has created a new kind of homesickness, one for places we've constructed entirely through shared digital fantasies. Your brain doesn't just want that cottage in the Cotswolds. It believes on some level that it's already lived there. The line between memory and imagination has become so blurred that our neurons can't tell the difference between a lived experience and a perfectly filtered feed. Scientists studying this digital nostalgia have discovered something fascinating. These phantom attachments can be just as emotionally powerful as real ones. When people are shown photos of their favorite online aesthetics, their brain activity mirrors the patterns seen when viewing childhood homes. The algorithm has essentially become a real estate agent for imaginary properties, and our minds are eager buyers. What does this mean for our understanding of home and belonging? We're the first generation to experience homesickness for places that exist only in our collective digital consciousness. Our brains are creating emotional blueprints from pixels, building memory palaces in virtual space. This digital architecture of belonging isn't just changing how we remember, it's reshaping how we dream. Every scroll through a perfectly curated feed adds another room to our phantom homes, another layer to our imagined lives. We're not just watching these idealized lifestyles, we're writing ourselves into their stories, one like at a time. Part 7. Your brain's secret real estate empire. Your brain is running a secret real estate empire, and you're not even collecting the rent. Right now, tucked away in the folds of your neural architecture, there's an entire portfolio of perfect places that have never existed. Sun-drenched cottages by non-existent shores, cozy mountain cabins that would make any Pinterest board weep, and childhood homes that are more beautiful in memory than they ever were in reality. This isn't just daydreaming. It's a sophisticated neurological con job that would make Bernie Madoff look like an amateur. Your brain is simultaneously the property developer, interior designer, and marketing team for these imagined spaces, and it's using some seriously sketchy blueprints to build them. Take that feeling you get when scrolling through cottagecore aesthetic posts at 2 a.m. That ache for a rustic farmhouse kitchen you've never actually cooked in, complete with herb gardens and morning light that somehow always hits different than your actual kitchen windows. That's your temporal lobe playing HGTV producer, splicing together fragments of every cooking video, childhood memory, and authentic living, Instagram posts you've ever seen into one impossibly perfect space. The science gets even weirder when we look at what neuroscientists call place cells, specialized neurons that fire when you're in or thinking about specific locations. These cells don't just map real places, they're actively creating fictional ones. It's like your brain is running a shadow. Zillow platform, listing properties that exist only in the most exclusive market imaginable, your mind. But here's where reality gets bent like a funhouse mirror. These imagined spaces aren't just visual constructions. Your brain is building full sensory experiences, complete with phantom smells, textures, and temperatures. That non-existent beach house comes with the exact scent of salt air and sunscreen. That mountain cabin? Your neurons have already staged it with the perfect crackle of a fireplace and the weight of a wool blanket. The phenomenon goes deeper than aesthetic preference or simple daydreaming. When researchers studied the brain activity of people thinking about their perfect places, they found activation patterns surprisingly similar to those seen in homesickness. Your brain is literally getting nostalgic for places it invented. It's like having emotional FOMO for a party that never happened. This neural architectural firm isn't working alone. Your memory systems are in on the scam, retrofitting actual experiences to match these idealized spaces. That's why your grandmother's kitchen grows more perfect with each remembering, slowly transforming into a warm, golden-lit sanctuary that probably never existed quite the way you remember it. Social media has turned this natural tendency into a dopamine-driven feedback loop. Every time you save another dream home, pin, or like another perfect space post, you're giving your brain's fantasy real estate department more raw materials to work with. It's like handing an overenthusiastic interior designer an unlimited budget. The most fascinating part? These imagined spaces aren't random. They're highly personalized compilations of every place that's ever made you feel safe, successful, or loved. Your brain is essentially running a sophisticated algorithm, combining elements of security, status, and emotional comfort into spaces that feel simultaneously novel and deeply familiar. This explains why you can feel homesick for places you've never actually been. That overwhelming longing for a cottage in the English countryside? Your neurons have constructed it from bits of Jane Austen adaptations, travel photos, and that one time you had perfectly brewed tea in a cafe. It's real estate catfishing, but you're both the catfish and the mark. Understanding this mechanism reveals something profound about human consciousness. We're not just passive observers of our environments, we're active creators of spatial possibility. Every perfect place you imagine is a blueprint for what your brain considers ideal conditions for thriving, even if those conditions never existed in reality. The next time you find yourself lost in visions of that perfect reading nook or ideal garden sanctuary, remember, you're witnessing your brain's billion-dollar development project in action. It's not just idle fantasy. It's your neural architecture firm working overtime to construct the spaces where your best life could theoretically unfold. These imagined perfect places serve a crucial evolutionary purpose. They're not just escape routes from reality. They're motivation machines, pushing us to reshape our actual environments to better match our internal ideals. It's why we paint walls, rearrange furniture, and sometimes completely uproot our lives in search of places that better match the spaces in our minds. Your brain's fantasy real estate empire might deal in imaginary properties, but the emotions it generates are absolute, and maybe that's the point. These perfect places aren't meant to exist in reality. They're the architectural equivalent of a North Star, always guiding us toward better spaces, better feelings, and better versions of home. Part 8. Soundtracks to Nowhere. Music as Place. Making that haunting melody from a Studio Ghibli film suddenly hits you with a wave of longing for a Japanese countryside you've never visited. Or maybe it's that indie folk song that makes your heart ache for a small town in Montana where you've never set foot. Your brain isn't malfunctioning. It's performing one of its most spectacular magic tricks. Music doesn't just create memories. It builds entire worlds in your neural architecture. When that Viking metal track makes you yearn for fjords you've never seen, your brain is essentially running a sophisticated world-building program that would make Minecraft developers jealous. It's constructing elaborate false memories using a cocktail of sound, emotion, and pure imagination. The science behind this phenomenon is wilder than a DJ's midnight set. Your hippocampus, the memory maestro of your brain, doesn't actually care whether you've physically been somewhere. It responds to music the same way it processes real spatial memories, creating what neuroscientists call place cells. These cells fire up like Christmas lights whenever you encounter or imagine a specific location. Add music to the mix, and your brain starts painting landscapes with sound. Think about how Spotify's algorithm tries to predict your music taste. Now imagine your brain doing something infinitely more complex. It's taking that Portuguese fado song and combining it with every cobblestone street scene you've seen in movies, every salty breeze you felt, and every story you've heard about Lisbon's ancient neighborhoods. The result? A homesickness for a version of Portugal that exists only in your neural network. Recent research from the Max Planck Institute revealed something mind-bending. Music activates the same brain regions as physical navigation. It's like your neurons are treating that dreamy lo-fi beat as actual coordinates on an emotional map. Your brain is essentially running Google Street View through rose-tinted neural lenses. The phenomenon gets even stranger. Your temporal lobe doesn't just store these musical spatial memories. It actively remixes them like a neurological TikTok trend. That's why listening to traditional Irish music might make you nostalgic for a pub crawl through Dublin you never took, complete with phantom memories of warm beer and wooden rafters. This neural alchemy happens because your brain is basically running the world's most sophisticated Instagram filter over reality. It's taking raw sensory input, the music, and layering it with every relevant piece of media you've consumed, every story you've heard, and every daydream you've entertained. The result is more convincing than any deepfake technology. The process mirrors how dating apps create idealized versions of potential matches. Just as your brain cherry-picks the most appealing elements from various profiles to construct a perfect potential partner, it's selecting the most emotionally resonant pieces of geographical and cultural information to build these phantom locations. Scientists at UC Berkeley discovered that music-induced spatial memories activate the default mode network, the same brain circuit that lights up when you're daydreaming or imagining the future. It's like your brain is running a virtual reality simulator powered by melody and rhythm instead of code. Here's where it gets truly bizarre. These musical false memories can actually be stronger than real ones. That's because your brain isn't constrained by reality when constructing them. It's like having unlimited creative control in a video game level designer, but instead of pixels, you're working with pure emotional resonance. The implications are staggering. Every time you listen to that ethereal Icelandic post-rock band, your brain is essentially creating a parallel universe, a place that exists somewhere between memory and imagination, reality and dream. It's building neural architecture as complex as any real city, but populated with emotional landmarks instead of physical ones. This explains why certain genres of music can trigger such specific geographical yearnings. Your brain has created a sophisticated map where shoegaze leads to rain, soaked Tokyo streets, desert rock opens portals to red rock canyons, and synthwave somehow always ends up in a neon-lit 1980s Los Angeles that never actually existed. Your neural networks are performing this elaborate world-building exercise because music, unlike any other art form, bypasses your logical filters and main lines straight into your emotional processing centers. It's like having a backdoor password to your brain's world generation software. The next time a random song makes you homesick for a place you've never been, remember, you're not experiencing a glitch in your memory system. You're witnessing your brain's remarkable ability to construct entire worlds from nothing but sound waves and stardust. It's not just making memories, it's creating universes. Part 9. Cultural DNA and Inherited Homesickness. Your DNA is having an existential crisis right now. Deep in your cells, genetic code from ancestors you've never met is screaming for a home you've never visited, triggering a longing so real it feels like a memory you can't quite grasp. This isn't just emotional baggage. It's your biology playing a centuries-old game of cultural telephone. That inexplicable pull you feel toward your ancestral homeland. It's like getting notifications from an app you never downloaded. Your brain is receiving signals from a cultural GPS that was programmed generations before you were born. Scientists call it genetic nostalgia. But that sterile term doesn't capture the raw ache of missing a place your feet have never touched. Think about those viral TikTok videos where people try their grandparents' traditional recipes for the first time and suddenly burst into tears at the first taste. That's not just the onions. It's your sensory neurons firing up ancient pathways, like finding a forgotten password to an emotional account you didn't know you had. Your brain stores cultural information, the way streaming services cache popular shows, keeping the most accessed memories ready for instant playback. But unlike Netflix's algorithms, your neural networks are running on code that's been optimized over thousands of years. When you hear a traditional song from your heritage or smell a dish from your ancestor's kitchen, your amygdala lights up like it's found a long-lost group chat. The science behind this cultural FOMO goes deeper than Instagram-worthy ancestry tourism. Research shows that certain environmental triggers, from specific architectural styles to landscape features, can activate what neuroscientists call place cells in your hippocampus. These cells fire up, not just for places you've been, but for places your genetic code remembers. It's like your DNA is running a background process, constantly scanning for matches to when it finds one. Boom. Instant emotional connection, complete with goosebumps and that weird feeling in your chest. Your nervous system is essentially getting targeted ads from your ancestors' experiences, and they're impossible to block. This explains why second and third generation immigrants often feel a stronger pull to their ancestral homeland than their parents do. While first generation immigrants are dealing with real memories and complex emotions, their children experience what researchers call inherited nostalgia, a romanticized longing unmarred by reality's complications. It's like having access to a cultural hub. The phenomenon isn't limited to recent family history either. Ever wondered why certain landscape features, like open savannas or bodies of water, feel universally appealing? Your brain is running on evolutionary preferences that got bookmarked in your species' collective consciousness thousands of generations ago. It's the original cloud storage system, backed up across millennia of human experience. Recent studies in epigenetics suggest that trauma and triumph don't just leave psychological scars or stories. They leave molecular bookmarks on our DNA that can influence how future generations process similar experiences. Your anxiety about certain situations might actually be your great-grandmother's survival instincts showing up as push notifications in your consciousness. This biological nostalgia system has a darker side too. Just as social media can create FOMO for experiences we're not having, genetic memory can trigger a deep sense of loss for cultural connections that have been severed. It's like having phantom limb pain for a cultural identity that was amputated by history, migration, or assimilation. The most fascinating part? This inherited homesickness actually serves an evolutionary purpose. That pull toward ancestral lands and traditions helps preserve crucial survival information across generations. Your DNA isn't just being sentimental, it's trying to keep alive the knowledge that kept your ancestors alive long enough to pass on their genes. So the next time you feel an inexplicable connection to a place you've never been, or tear up at a traditional song in a language you don't speak, remember, you're not being overly emotional. You're experiencing the world's oldest social network sending you updates from your ancestral timeline. Your cells are just keeping you in the loop on thousands of years of family history. This biological blueprint for belonging explains why cultural appropriation feels so viscerally wrong to many people. It's not just about social justice, it's about respecting the complex neural networks that connect generations of shared experience. When someone casually adopts sacred symbols or traditions, they're essentially hacking into an emotional security system that took millennia to develop. Your inherited homesickness isn't just nostalgia, it's your genes reminding you where you came from, and maybe even pointing you toward where you need to go. In a world of digital connections and virtual communities, maybe these ancient cellular signals are more important than ever, keeping us grounded in the long story of human experience that lives in every strand of our DNA. Part 10. Pixel Homes. When virtual worlds feel real. Your brain can't tell the difference between Hyrule and Hawaii. That might sound ridiculous. One's a digital fantasy realm filled with magical creatures. The other's a real tropical paradise. But when it comes to forming emotional attachments and spatial memories, your neural circuitry treats both with shocking similarity. Welcome to the bizarre world of virtual homesickness, where pixels become places that feel as real as your childhood home. Remember that gut punch feeling when Minecraft deleted your year-old world save? That wasn't just frustration over lost progress. You were experiencing genuine grief for a place that never physically existed. Your hippocampus, the brain's cartographer, had mapped every block, every secret base, every carefully crafted garden. It created a mental GPS so detailed that you could navigate it blindfolded. The emotional weight was real. The science behind this phenomenon reads like a plot twist worthy of. When you explore virtual worlds, your brain deploys the exact same neural machinery it uses to map physical spaces. Place cells fire. Grid cells orient. Your spatial memory system goes all in on creating a genuine mental map. It's like your brain never got the memo that these places are just sophisticated arrangements of light on a screen. But here's where reality gets properly weird. These virtual spaces can trigger legitimate place attachment, that profound emotional connection we typically reserve for meaningful physical locations. Players of Final Fantasy XIV who lost access to their virtual homes during server maintenance reported feelings indistinguishable from real-world homesickness. Their brains had quite literally moved in. This isn't just about gamers getting too invested. Your neural architecture is pulling a spectacular con job, and you're not even the main target. Every time you dive into a richly detailed virtual world, your hippocampus and emotional centers are having a private party, creating connections that feel authentic because, to your brain's ancient wiring, they are authentic. Think about the last time you felt that strange melancholy after finishing a game with a deeply realized world. That sensation mirrors the same neurochemical cocktail your brain serves up when you're missing your actual hometown. Your amygdala, basically your brain's emotional DJ, is playing the same sad songs in both scenarios. The implications spiral into mind-bending territory. If our brains process virtual spaces as real locations, what does that mean for the future of human experience? Some people know every corner of Night City from Cyberpunk 2077 better than they know their own neighborhood. Their spatial memory has created a map more detailed than their daily commute. This phenomenon isn't limited to games. Social VR platforms are creating shared virtual spaces where people form genuine place attachments. Regular meetups in virtual cafes trigger the same social bonding mechanisms as their physical counterparts. Your brain's ancient architecture, designed for cave systems and savannas, is happily applying its toolkit to digital landscapes. The really wild part? These virtual place attachments can actually enhance your brain's overall spatial processing abilities. Gamers who regularly navigate complex virtual environments show improved. Your brain's GPS system doesn't care if it's getting a workout in Assassin's Creed or actual Venice. It's all valid training. We're living in an era where our neural circuitry is adapting to straddle two worlds, the physical and the virtual. That pain you feel when a beloved virtual world shuts down its servers isn't some modern weakness. It's your brain doing exactly what it evolved to do, forming meaningful connections to important places in your environment, regardless of whether those places are made of atoms or algorithms. Scientists studying this phenomenon have discovered that our brains store virtual spatial memories in the same regions that house our most treasured real-world locations. That favorite fishing spot in Red Dead Redemption 2 might be filed right next to memories of your grandfather's actual lake house. Your hippocampus doesn't discriminate. It's all prime real estate in the neural neighborhood. The next time someone scoffs at feeling homesick for a digital world, remember this: your brain evolved to create meaningful relationships with important places, full stop. It never got the software update that says, hey, these places aren't real. Instead, it's doing what it's done for millions of years, helping you form emotional connections to the spaces that matter in your life, pixels or not. Your mind is running an incredibly sophisticated simulation of reality every moment you're alive. Adding a few digital locations to that internal map isn't a bug. It's just your brain doing its job in a world that's expanded beyond what evolution could have possibly predicted. The Matrix isn't something we need to plug into. Our brains are already masters at turning virtual spaces into very real homes. Part 11. Anemoia, Nostalgia for Times Never Lived. You've never walked the cobblestone streets of 1920s Paris, yet somehow you miss it. That ache for gaslit boulevards, jazz-soaked cafes, and the clinking of absinthe glasses feels more real than your memories of last Tuesday. This isn't just random daydreaming. Your brain is pulling off a masterclass in emotional time travel, and the science behind this yearning is wilder than any midnight in Montmartre. That pull toward a time you've never experienced has a name: anemoia. But unlike your Instagram feed's Throwback Thursday, your brain is actually constructing elaborate emotional landscapes from borrowed pieces, like a master art forger creating a lost Van Gogh that never existed. When you binge Bridgerton and suddenly feel homesick for Regency-era London, your neural networks are performing the equivalent of a reality show makeover. They're taking snippets from every period drama you've watched, every historical novel you've read, and every museum exhibit you've visited. then renovating them into a personalized emotional penthouse. It's HGTV for your hippocampus, but instead of open-concept kitchens, it's manufacturing the feeling of belonging in the Roman Forum. The phenomenon, your DNA might be playing its own version of historical match. Calm. Research suggests we carry genetic memories from our ancestors, not detailed memories of chariot races or medieval feasts, but emotional echoes that ripple through generations. It's like getting a notification from an ancestry app you never installed, pinging you with feelings of connection to specific times and places. Modern life throws gasoline on this temporal fire. Every time Netflix drops another period piece or TikTok serves up cottagecore aesthetics, your brain adds more layers to these fictional memories. It's like having a Pinterest board inside your mind, but instead of collecting design inspiration, you're stockpiling emotional connections to eras you've never lived through. The intensity of these feelings isn't random either. Your brain tends to get most nostalgic for periods that seem to solve modern problems. Feeling overwhelmed by social media? Suddenly, the disconnected simplicity of the 1800s feels like home. Burnt out from hustle culture? The laid-back vibes of the 1960s start calling your name. Your neural pathways are essentially running a dating app matching service between your current frustrations and idealized historical solutions. This temporal homesickness hits hardest when it taps into what psychologists call period resonance, when a historical era seems to mirror your personal values or desired lifestyle. It's like your brain is swiping right on entire centuries, matching with the ones that feel like they'd understand your true self. That's why one person might yearn for Victorian propriety, while another craves the rebellious energy of the punk rock 70s. The architecture of these false memories is particularly fascinating. Your brain constructs them using a process similar to how it builds expectations for the future, but in reverse. Instead of projecting forward, it's creating detailed emotional blueprints of the past, complete with sensory details it has no business knowing. You can almost smell the leather-bound books in a Victorian library, or hear the clatter of horse hooves on medieval streets, all manufactured by your mind's historical production studio. This mental time travel serves a surprising psychological purpose. When you feel connected to historical periods, you're actually expanding your sense of self beyond the narrow confines of your own timeline. It's like having emotional real estate in multiple centuries, giving your identity more room to breathe. Your brain isn't just being nostalgic. It's building temporal safe houses where parts of your personality can find refuge. The kicker? These feelings of historical homesickness might actually be preparing us for the future. By maintaining emotional connections to different time periods, our brains stay flexible about what feels like home. It's like keeping a backup drive of human experience, ready to help us adapt when our own time period throws us curveballs. Next time you feel that inexplicable longing for the Jazz Age or find yourself daydreaming about life in ancient Alexandria, remember, your brain isn't confused. It's expanding your emotional territory across time itself, building bridges between who you are and who humans have always been. In a way, every era you feel connected to becomes another room in your mind's infinite house. And that's not homesickness. That's having the ultimate emotional address. Your brain's ability to craft these elaborate temporal attachments isn't a glitch. It's a feature that's been helping humans process change and maintain cultural continuity for millennia. So the next time someone catches you sighing over photos of Art Deco architecture or medieval castles, tell them you're not just daydreaming. You're participating in humanity's longest-running emotional backup system, keeping centuries of human experience alive in the most personal way possible. Part 12. The Evolution of Belonging. Your brain is staging a quiet revolution right now, rewriting the ancient code of what home means. That cozy feeling you get when you step into your favorite coffee shop. It's not just familiarity. It's your neural networks performing an evolutionary magic trick that would make our cave-dwelling ancestors' heads spin. Remember that viral trend where people transformed their rooms into cozy cottagecore hideaways during lockdown? Your brain was doing something far more radical than just falling for aesthetic TikToks. It was desperately trying to hack its own evolutionary programming, creating synthetic comfort zones in a world where place has become increasingly fluid and digital. The science is showing something wild. Our brains are developing new neural pathways for processing belonging that didn't exist 20 years ago. Imagine your great-grandparents' concept of home, probably a physical place with 4 walls and a door. Now your brain treats your Instagram feed like a neighborhood, your Discord servers like living rooms, and your Spotify playlists like childhood bedrooms. This isn't just some cute parallel, it's a fundamental rewiring of ancient circuits. When you scroll through your carefully curated social media feed, your hippocampus, the brain's spatial and memory maestro, fires in patterns eerily similar to when our ancestors surveyed their tribal territories. Every like, comment, and share triggers the same neurochemical cocktail that once rewarded us for maintaining crucial tribal bonds. But here's where evolution is playing catch-up to our digital age. Your brain's place cells, traditionally responsible for creating mental maps of physical spaces, are now attempting to map virtual territories. It's like trying to use a Renaissance-era compass to navigate the metaverse. The hardware wasn't designed for this, but your neural networks are performing some impressive improvisational upgrades. Virtual reality researchers recently discovered something that sounds like science fiction: people experiencing genuine separation anxiety from digital spaces. When regular VR users were cut off from their virtual environments, their brains showed activation patterns matching those of people experiencing homesickness. The implications are staggering. We're developing place attachment to spaces that don't technically exist. This digital evolution of belonging isn't just changing where we feel at home. It's transforming how we build memories. Remember that feeling when Facebook's layout suddenly changed? That brief disorientation wasn't just annoyance at a new interface. Your brain literally had to rebuild its spatial understanding of a place. It had come to consider familiar territory. The most mind-bending part? Your brain is getting better at this digital adaptation with each passing year. Generation Alpha kids show neural plasticity patterns that suggest they're equally comfortable forming place attachments to physical and virtual spaces. Their brains don't make the same sharp distinction between real and digital, places that older generations do. Modern architecture and urban design are scrambling to keep up with this neurological revolution. New buildings are being designed with what researchers call hybrid attachment points, physical spaces specifically engineered to feel familiar to brains that learned about comfort and belonging through screens. It's like designing a real-world space that speaks fluent TikTok. The future of place attachment is writing itself in your neural pathways right now. Every time you feel that spark of belonging in a group chat, every moment of comfort you find in a carefully curated digital space, you're participating in humanity's next great evolutionary leap. Your brain is pioneering ways to feel at home in infinite spaces, none of which require physical walls. This transformation comes with fascinating challenges. Digital nomads report experiencing a new kind of homesickness, not for any physical place, but for a specific combination of online communities and virtual spaces that created their sense of belonging. It's homesickness for a place that exists only in servers and pixels. As we wrap up our journey through the neuroscience of belonging, consider this. Your brain's concept of home is expanding beyond anything our ancestors could have imagined. We're not just adapting to new environments. We're creating entirely new categories of places to belong. The next generation might feel as deeply connected to their digital territories as we do to our childhood homes. The revolution of belonging isn't coming. It's already here, quietly rewiring our brains while we scroll, click, and virtually gather. Home isn't just where the heart is anymore. Home is wherever your neural networks decide to lay down their digital roots, in spaces both real and imagined, physical and virtual, traditional and yet to be invented. Your brain's ancient circuitry is transforming into something unprecedented in human history, a belonging engine capable of finding comfort in infinite spaces. Welcome to the future of feeling at home. No physical address required. Tonight, we explored something utterly fascinating: how our brains can create profound homesickness for places we've never actually been. We discovered that our neural architecture doesn't just map real locations, but constructs elaborate emotional geographies from stories, media, and perhaps even genetic memories. Those strange longings for misty Scottish highlands you've never visited, or the inexplicable comfort you feel in architectural styles from centuries before your birth, they're not random. Your brain is literally building these places into your identity map, treating fictional or ancestral spaces as real emotional territories. We uncovered how media shapes these phantom geographies, with your neurons firing in patterns nearly identical to real memories when you immerse yourself in detailed fictional worlds. Perhaps most mind-bending was learning that certain architectural features trigger ancient recognition patterns in our brains, as if some part of us remembers what made our ancestors feel safe millennia ago. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. What place have you felt homesick for despite never having been there? And when you imagine this place, what specific details make it feel like home to you? Share your experience in the comments. I'm genuinely curious if others share your phantom geography. This episode has completely changed how I think about my own inexplicable attachments to certain places and architectural styles. That pull I've always felt towards stone cottages and misty forests. It's not just whimsy. It's my brain constructing vital pieces of my identity map, using both inherited and culturally absorbed information to tell me where I belong in the world. As you drift off tonight, I hope your dreams take you to those places that feel like home, whether they exist in reality or only in the intricate neural maps your brain has crafted. May your mind wander through the architecture of belonging, and may you find comfort in knowing that even imagined places can hold real pieces of who you are. Sweet dreams, fellow travelers through time and memory. Until next time, this is The Sleepy Why, reminding you that home isn't just where you've been, it's everywhere your brain believes you belong.